Thank you. What a privilege to be here and share my story. I'm so grateful, so grateful. Before I start, I'm just going to pray. I set aside prayer. Divine, please help me set aside everything I think I know about myself, the 12 steps, the meetings, my disease and you, so that I may have an open mind and a new experience with all these things. Please let me see the truth, no matter how beautiful it is. May these words be thine and the voice be mine, and so be it. My name is Shelly, and I'm a very gratefully recovering compulsive overeater, food addict, binger, and restrictor. And I feel very moved to be here and sharing some of my journey with you. I'll start off with just a bit of my family background. I was born into an alcoholic and dysfunctional family, and I was number 6 of 8 children. Our home was a battleground, and that's the truth. It was unsafe. I was sexually abused by siblings and who were parentified because my parents were not available. My mum was quite controlling, codependent. My dad was the alcoholic. So I grew up with unkindness, shame, blame, denial, ridiculing, and humiliation. And my earliest memory of compulsive overeating was when I was 5. I used food to medicate. I knew that when I had feelings that I could not deal with, express, or feel, or share, that I could use food. It was my medicine and it was my comforter. At age 8, my beloved dad died suddenly in the night, and that was a really significant trauma in my life because I was not allowed to go and say goodbye or go to his funeral. And I really loved my dad. I really loved my dad. I feel him around me now in spirit. He's around me. After my dad died, my food ramped up, of course. You know, I was using more and more food as a child. I was getting fatter and fatter, and I even got called by my teacher chubby. I think for me personally that I was undiagnosed with depression as a child and definitely post-traumatic stress disorder and other mental health issues as well. But as a child, I can remember feeling absolutely terrified. I was so scared, like the whole world was unsafe. Home wasn't safe, the whole world was unsafe, and I was always in fear of getting into trouble. I was incredibly anxious and, really became invisible, basically, as a child. I stole food. I sneaked food. I ate sneakily. I stole money for food, and food was rationed at our home, so, you know, I had to have access to it when I needed it. And I'm talking about 9, 10, 11, 12, around about that age. I had a history as a teenager of yo-yo dieting, and then I became addicted to amphetamines, which were diet pills. I was addicted to them for 3 years. I actually had body dysmorphia. There was nothing wrong with my body, but I felt fat, which was not acceptable. And in my family, there was definitely a dieting culture, and thin was good and fat was bad. So I came into recovery, into the 12 steps on December the 6th, 1989. I was a single mother with 2 daughters, and my daughters were 4 and 7 when I came into recovery. I came in via a treatment centre. I went in as a family member because I was a sister, a daughter, ex-wife of alcoholics. And I had a sneaking suspicion that I might be one too. So not only was I a family member, I came out being an alcoholic, which I'm really grateful for. In this treatment centre, I also became aware of other addictions, including food. So it was really interesting. Like, food had always played a part, but when I had no alcohol, I medicated with food in the treatment centre for
That's 5 minutes.
we had a dance. Thank you. So I had social anxiety. I would always use something before I went out, and that I told my therapist, but they didn't have any idea of how to deal with it in those days. A year later, after I'd given up alcohol, I came into OA. So that was the 12th of December, 1990. I came in because I was absolutely insane, obsessing and planning food all the time. It was a nightmare. It was a real nightmare. I had to sit on my hands the night before I came into my first meeting, so I wouldn't get up and go to the shop and leave my 2 kids on their own. I think for me, when I came into OA, I had 5 years abstinence. I didn't have much weight to lose. I lost the weight, kept it off for 5 years, and then I had a relationship breakup, which connected me with my trauma and my dad dying. And the most important part about this is that I lost sight of my spiritual enlightenment. No, not enlightenment. I lost sight of exercising my spiritual muscles. It's like I completely let go of divine, and so that meant for me, I think it was about 28 years of still being in OA. I left very occasionally, but always came back. I knew that my eating was bad enough in OA with my relapsing, my repetitive relapsing, that it would be far worse if I went out, because this is a progressive disease. It's waiting. It tells me lies. It sits on my shoulder, and it wants me dead, basically. So what I know about that pattern that I got into, I was so full of self-hatred. I was so full of self-hatred and self-judgment and self-criticism, so that every time I had a slip or a relapse, I would binge, and then I would feel the shame, and then some days I'd have, periods of abstinence, God was there helping me. Other days I just was in that cycle of hate. And I do believe this is a disease of self-hate, and I believe the antidote is self-love with God, or the higher power, or the God of my understanding or not understanding, which, I had quite a resistance to calling, God, because I felt abused by, religious abuse as a child. And now I can say it. I just know that I have been given this absolutely wonderful divine connection, which gives me love and encouragement, support, and wants me to have a bloody good life. My higher power wants me to be happy, joyous, and free. So what happened? The cycle continued. Intuitively, I knew that the big book would help me. I kept getting messages from my higher power. I wasn't ready. I kept dismissing them. So enter COVID and online meetings. I finally came into a daily big book meeting, which is where I met my beloved sponsor. I listened, I took notes, I felt loved and accepted, even though I was still eating. And that was a gift. That was such a gift, because I had not always felt that way in face-to-face meetings. I was encouraged to meet myself where I was at. And there's some beauty in that, because it brings acceptance. Like if I can accept this is how I am right now, it made me more open and more willing to do what I had to do next. September 2023, I hit a rock bottom. I was absolutely desperate. I could not stop eating. My eating had got so bad because of a family member, my eldest daughter, who had a medical incident in a city far away from me. We were estranged, and she had a cardiac arrest, and I just lost the plot, really. I just lost the plot. And I have a lot of grief around that, because I had to ask her to leave home. We have not spoken or seen each other for 3 years. So this was a gift. I got the gift of desperation. And I was feeling suicidal, and I was sharing at the meeting about and giving myself a hard time how I couldn't get those. Thank you. I'd lost my abstinence, for that 5 years. I couldn't get that back. I could not get it back. I was really not kind to myself at all. And a beautiful soul heard me share at the meeting, and she sent me a text and a message, and it said, "What if God's got something even better for you?" And I cried, because I knew that was true. This was my new truth, that God had something better for me. And so this gift of desperation meant that I got a sponsor. I worked the steps. I got food sobriety. I have perfectly imperfect abstinence and freedom from binging for nearly since November 2023, and no more body hatred. I have learned to love myself. This is essential, because if the disease of self-hate has to be met with an equally powerful antidote of God, which is love, for me. I think, having the body hatred and body dysmorphia, I'm coming to love and accept myself just the way I was. And when I was thin and abstinent for those 5 years, I was very unhappy. I was white-knuckling it. I was into my sex and love addiction because I was getting all this attention. I was not happy. Today I am happy. And I am so happy. I am so grateful. So what I do, there's that page gone. What happens? Here we are. What it's like now. I do action coming from love, one day at a time. I have my dear sponsor has given me the idea of having an action plan which is non-negotiable. These are my daily non-negotiables. They include working the steps, prayer and meditation, readings, outreach. I do the practice of the steps every day. I have a vow of self-compassion, which I say each day, not to harm myself with food or words or thoughts. I feel very, I do outreach. I think I've said that, meetings, and I sponsor. And I love my sponsor and I love my sponsees. I am so grateful that God has matched us up, because I have had so much healing, especially around my attitude towards the church that I was raised in. Today I have serenity, food neutrality. The promises are coming true. The relationships with people in my life are far better because I'm honest and I am kind and I do my very best to be what God would have me be, or divine would have me be. The divine wants me to be in self-acceptance, self-forgiveness, self-love and self-compassion, and help others. I'm living the life that God intended me to live, and it's much, much better than the one I had before. If you're new, just keep coming back. I left very rarely. But I kept coming back. That door swings both ways, so stay. And if you do decide to go, know you can come back and we will still love you. This is so important for me to keep remembering that this program is action coming from love, and that when I am doing God's will, I feel love and I am able to make living amends to the people that I have harmed in my addictions. So I don't think there's anything else that I need to say other than surrender versus control. God cannot take anything from me that I won't let go of. Isolation versus connection. If I can isolate, I leave a gate open for the disease. So if I connect, I know that I'm not on my own, that this is a we program, and that alone I am powerless, but together we get better. If you're having a problem with the concept of a higher power, don't worry. Just keep turning up. Eventually, I encourage my sponsees to write down what they want from a sponsor, like a wee job description, and they can even borrow mine. There's so many ways of believing in a power greater than ours, and that's one of the things I love about this early bird meeting, is that it does state that in the meeting. that we don't have to believe in God. You know, the comparison from 35 odd years ago when I came into treatment and said, I'm not having anything to do with that God business, thank you, to now is amazing. And I am truly, truly, truly grateful. Thank you.